Adam never considered himself weak. He had a stable job, a family, and what most people would call a normal life. From the outside, everything looked fine, but inside, he was slowly falling apart. Stability often looks like strength, but in reality, it can be silent decay. Every morning, Adam woke up feeling tired even after a full night's sleep. His exhaustion was not physical, it was mental. Before his feet touched the floor, his phone was already in his hand. Messages, news, and social media flooded his mind. Silence no longer existed in his life. Each day, he rushed through breakfast, hurried to work, and moved quickly through conversations. Yet he never truly progressed. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years, and nothing changed. Every Sunday night, Adam made promises to himself. He would wake up early, start exercising, and stop wasting time. But when Monday arrived, the motivation disappeared. By Tuesday, excuses replaced action, and by Friday he had forgotten everything. Then Sunday came again, and the cycle repeated. Adam was not lazy, he was addicted to comfort. Comfort disguised itself as rest, as I deserve this, and as I'll do it later. That later was slowly destroying him. In modern life, weakness does not look like weakness. It looks like endless entertainment, constant scrolling, and excessive relaxation. Adam was always busy, yet never productive. He was always tired, yet never fulfilled. He was always planning, yet never executing. Deep inside, he knew something was wrong, but he avoided facing it. Thinking honestly about his life was uncomfortable, so he distracted himself. Over time, his focus weakened. He forgot meetings and deadlines. He could not read 10 pages without checking his phone. Sitting in silence made him restless. His mind became like a browser with dozens of open tabs, constantly running and never resting. Then one day, everything collapsed. During an important presentation in front of clients and senior managers, Adam suddenly felt his heart race. His hands began to shake. His vision blurred. His thoughts disappeared. Breathing became difficult. For a moment, he believed he was dying. He rushed out of the room, covered in sweat, trembling with fear. That day, the illusion of his strength shattered. Medical tests showed nothing wrong. His heart, lungs, and blood were all normal. He felt relieved until the doctor explained that his nervous system was overloaded. His mind was constantly in survival mode. He was stressed, anxious, and mentally untrained. The word untrained stayed with him. He had trained for exams, careers, and promotions, but he had never trained his mind for life. That night, Adam could not sleep. For the first time in years, he did not distract himself with his phone or videos. He lay in silence, facing his thoughts. Slowly, the truth appeared. He was afraid of failure, effort, discomfort, and change. So he chose comfort every day. Comfort felt safe, but it was keeping him weak. While searching for answers online, Adam discovered the writings of ancient warriors. One name appeared again and again. A man who never lost, lived simply, and mastered himself. Adam began reading books, translations, and commentaries. One sentence changed everything. Strength is the result of removal. Strength was not built by adding more. It was built by removing excuses, dependency, and emotional weakness. That night, he made a different promise. Not a dramatic one, not an emotional one. Just a simple decision. I will not quit tomorrow. The next morning, when his alarm rang, his body wanted sleep and his mind wanted delay. In the past, he would have pressed snooze. This time, he sat up, without motivation, without excitement, only discipline. He dropped to the floor and did 10 push-ups. They were painful and embarrassing, but they were real. Something changed that day, not in his muscles, but in his identity. He was no longer someone who planned to change. He was someone who had started. Small, imperfect, and weak, but moving forward. He made a silent contract with himself. No excuses, no negotiations. Every day he would do the minimum. Some days it was 20 push-ups, some days it was 5, but never 0. 0 meant betrayal. After the first month, nothing looked impressive. There were no dramatic photos, no applause, and no instant transformation. But inside, A fire had started. A quiet fire, a dangerous fire, the fire of self-respect. And once that fire begins to burn, it never truly goes out. After the first month, Adam realized something important. Starting was not the hardest part. Continuing was. Motivation had already faded. The excitement of doing something new was gone. What remained was repetition, boredom, and resistance. Every morning, his body still preferred comfort. Every evening, his mind still searched for excuses. Discipline, he learned, was not a feeling. It was a decision made again and again in moments when quitting felt easier. Some days he woke up energized and finished his exercises quickly. On other days he felt empty and exhausted. Work pressure increased. Family responsibilities grew. Sleep was sometimes short. In the past, these conditions would have been enough to make him stop. Now, he refused to let circumstances decide his behavior. He understood that real strength meant performing even when conditions were imperfect. Adam began building what he called his non-negotiable system. He chose 3 habits that would never be skipped: daily physical training, daily mental silence, and daily learning. Physical training meant simple bodyweight exercises. Mental silence meant sitting quietly for 10 minutes and observing his thoughts without reacting. Learning meant reading at least 10 pages of something meaningful every day. These habits were small, but they were permanent. At first, the mind fought back. Every time he tried to sit in silence, his thoughts became louder. Worries about money, work, and family flooded his head. Regrets from the past and fears about the future appeared. His instinct was to escape into his phone. Instead, he stayed. He watched the thoughts rise and fall without chasing them. Slowly he realized that thoughts were not commands. They were just noise. He did not have to obey them. This was his first real battle, not against people, not against circumstances. Against himself. Against laziness, fear, and emotional weakness. Some days he lost. He skipped meditation. He rushed his workout. He wasted time online. But instead of quitting completely, he returned the next day. He learned that perfection was not required. Consistency was. As his discipline improved, his emotional control also began to change. Situations that once triggered anger or anxiety no longer had the same power. When deadlines approached, he stayed calm. When mistakes happened, he corrected them without self-hatred. When people criticized him, he listened instead of reacting. He was no longer controlled by every emotion that passed through him. He was learning how to choose his response. Physical training also became more intense. After mastering basic push-ups, Adam added squats, planks, and running. He increased difficulty slowly, without rushing. His rule was simple: challenge without injury, progress without ego. He stopped trying to impress anyone. There were no social media posts, no comparisons. His competition was only with yesterday's version of himself. Pain became part of the process. Muscles burned, lungs struggled, sweat poured. At first he hated it. Later he respected it. Pain stopped being an enemy. It became a teacher. It showed him where his limits were and how to move beyond them. Each difficult session strengthened not only his body, but also his mind's ability to endure discomfort. At work, changes became visible. Adam was more focused. He finished tasks earlier. He stopped procrastinating. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations, he faced them calmly. Instead of complaining about problems, he searched for solutions. His colleagues noticed. His man, Ager, trusted him more. Not because he was the smartest, but because he was reliable. One of the most important lessons he learned was the power of routines. He stopped depending on willpower. Willpower was unreliable. Some days it was strong, some days it disappeared. Routines, however, did not depend on emotions. He woke up at the same time. He trained at the same time. He studied at the same time. His life became structured, not rigid, but intentional. Distractions slowly lost their grip on him. He reduced social media. He stopped watching meaningless videos. He avoided negative conversations. He protected his mental environment. He understood that the mind becomes what it consumes. If he filled it with chaos, he would become chaotic. If he filled it with discipline, he would become disciplined. There were moments of doubt. Sometimes he wondered if all this effort was worth it. Sometimes he felt isolated. Old friends did not understand his new lifestyle. They joked about his seriousness. Some even felt uncomfortable around him. But Adam accepted this. He realized that growth often requires distance. Not everyone can walk with you forever. One night, after 6 months of training, he looked at himself in the mirror and barely recognized the person staring back. His posture was stronger, his eyes were calmer, his expression was confident. But the biggest change was invisible. He trusted himself. He knew that when he made a promise, he would keep it. That trust became his greatest weapon. Discipline was no longer something he forced. It was something he lived. Inner warfare had not ended, but he was winning more battles than he was losing. He was becoming resilient. Assure no longer broke him. Stress no longer paralyzed him. Difficulties no longer scared him. They trained him. He finally understood that life is not a comfort zone. It is a training ground. Every challenge is a lesson. Every setback is practice. Every uncomfortable moment is an opportunity to grow stronger. Those who avoid discomfort remain weak. Those who face it become unbreakable. By the time Adam entered his second year of transformation, discipline no longer felt like effort. What once required force now happened naturally. He no longer debated with himself about waking up early, exercising, or focusing on his work. There was no internal argument anymore. His actions followed his values without resistance. This was the result of months of consistency. Repetition had rewritten his identity. He noticed that his relationship with time had changed. In the past, hours disappeared into distractions. Now, he used time intentionally. Mornings were for training and planning. Afternoons were for focused work. Evenings were for family, reflection, and rest. He stopped wasting energy on unnecessary worries. Each day had purpose. One of the biggest shifts happened in his mindset toward failure. Earlier in life, mistakes felt personal. A failure meant he was not good enough. Now, failure was simply information. When something went wrong, he analyzed it calmly. What caused it? What could be improved? What lesson was hidden inside it? Instead of feeling ashamed, he felt curious. This mindset made him fearless. Fear loses power when failure is no longer a threat. Adam also learned the art of emotional independence. He no longer needed praise to feel confident. He no longer lapsed under criticism. His sense of worth came from inside, not from external approval. Whether people supported him or doubted him, he remained steady. This emotional stability made him powerful. A person who cannot be manipulated by emotions cannot be controlled. Challenges continued to appear, as they always do in life. Family problems, financial pressure, unexpected losses, and difficult decisions tested him. But now, he did not react blindly. He paused. He breathed. He thought. Then he acted with clarity. Problems became projects. Crises became opportunities. Stress became fuel. With mastery came simplicity. Adam stopped chasing too many goals at once. He focused on a few essential things: health, integrity, learning, contribution, and relationships. Everything else became secondary. He understood that greatness is not about doing more. It is about doing less, better. His physical training evolved as well. He no longer trained to look good. He trained to be capable. Strength, endurance, flexibility, and mobility all mattered. He respected recovery and sleep. He listened to his body. He trained intelligently, not emotionally. His body became reliable, just like his mind. People began to see him differently. At work, he was trusted with responsibility. In his family, he became a pillar of stability. Among friends, he was known for calmness and wisdom. But he did not seek admiration. He stayed humble. He remembered where he came from. Pride, he knew, was the enemy of growth. There was a phase when loneliness appeared. Mastery often creates distance. Not everyone is comfortable around someone who is disciplined, focused, and emotionally stable. Some people felt judged by his presence, even though he never judged them. He learned to accept this quietly. True growth sometimes means walking alone. At this stage, Adam discovered the final lesson, letting go of ego. He stopped defining himself by achievements. Promotions, income, recognition, and praise no longer controlled his identity. He was not his success. He was not his failure. He was his practice. As long as he kept practicing, improving, and learning, he was at peace. He stopped counting days. He stopped chasing milestones. He stopped comparing himself to others. The journey itself became enough. Discipline had transformed into devotion. Effort had transformed into lifestyle. Struggle had transformed into meaning. One evening, after a long day, Adam sat quietly and reflected on his journey. He remembered the anxious man who once could not breathe during a presentation. He remembered the excuses, the fear, and the weakness. That person felt like a stranger now, not because he had become someone else, but because he had removed everything false. He understood that mastery is not about becoming extraordinary. It is about becoming authentic. It is about aligning actions with values. It is about living without inner conflict. When thoughts, words, and actions move in the same direction, life becomes powerful. Adam had become unbreakable not because life stopped testing him, but because he stopped breaking under pressure. He had built deep roots. Storms still came, but they no longer destroyed him. They strengthened him. In the end, he realized that this path was open to everyone. There was no secret formula, no special talent, no magic shortcut. Only daily effort, honest self, observation, and courage to face discomfort. Most people avoid this path because it is demanding. A few choose it because it is freeing. His final understanding was simple. Real freedom is self-mastery. When you control your habits, emotions, and reactions, no one else can control you. When you keep your word to yourself, confidence becomes natural. When you live with discipline, peace follows. Adam's journey did not end. Mastery has no finish line. It is a lifelong practice. Every day is another chance to grow stronger, wiser, and calmer. And every person who chooses this path can experience the same transformation.